And I guess it's no secret about what the sermon will be about today. You know, there's certain days of the year that you just don't have to worry. It's just kind of a given. A guy asked me one time, says, how do you come up with ideas, for sermons? And I said, well, there's certain days that it just kind of comes to you, like Mother's Day and Father's Day and Easter and Christmas, and there's a lot of it. But today we're going to talk about fathers, and it's so good to see you all here today and to have this time that we can share together. Is anybody old enough to remember when people used to haul hay on a hay rack? You remember before the time that you had bales of hay, but you piled this big wagon high and carried it down the road? Well, they still do that in some countries. I've seen some pictures of where they still put hay on a hay rack. Well, there's a story about a young boy that was driving one of these contraptions, and he turned over right in front of a farmer's house. Well, the farmer, he comes out and he sees this young boy crying, and he says, "Son, don't worry about this." He says, "We can fix this." He says, "I'll help you put all the hay back on the rack, and it'll be okay." He says, "Right now, though," he says, "my wife has dinner ready." He says, "Why don't you come in and eat dinner with us, and then I'll help you put the hay back on the rack?" But the boy says, "No, I can't." He said, "My father's going to be very angry with me." And the farmer said, That's nonsense. We can fix this. Don't worry about it. You just come in now and you have some dinner and you'll feel a whole lot better." And the boy says, I don't know. He says, "I'm just afraid that my father's going to be very angry with me." And the farmer says, No, I insist. You come on inside and have lunch. The little boy came inside his house, and the wife had a big lunch fixed up, and they sat down and ate. So after they ate, they walked back out to the hay rack, and the farmer says, "Don't you feel better now?" And the boy said, "Yes, but I just know my father's going to be very angry with me." And the father says, "That's nonsense. We can pick all this hay and put it back up on the rack." He says, "Where is your father anyway?" The boy said, "He's under that pile of hay." Penny asked me about what to put on the sign out there, what kind of Father's Day message that I wanted on the sign, and I said, "Well, just anything. I trust you. Whatever you pick will be okay." And what she picked and put on the sign is exactly my saying. Godly fathers are a blessing to their children. Some of you probably don't know, but I just recently moved here from Wyoming. Not nearly as hot in Wyoming as it is in Crawford, Arkansas. I can just go ahead and say that up front and get it out of the way, but it's okay. But I was good friends with the regional pastor there in Wyoming, and a while back he sent out an email, and I think it was on Mother's Day. And it was exchanged between himself and another male member of the church there in Casper, Wyoming. And he said, the man asked him, he said, "Why is it on Mother's Day that you always sing the praises of mothers, but on Father's Day you tend to beat up the dads?" And I thought about it, and I said, I think that's true. I think we do tend to encourage dads more on Father's Day. And then when Mother's Day comes around, we have nothing but praise for moms. They're the best thing since sliced bread, on Mother's Day. But we tend to get on to the dads a little bit. I guess the reason is that so many dads don't seem to be committed to their place in the world as a father. In many cases, the mom is left to fend for herself and the kids. But increasingly, I see the other side of the coin. I see moms who've abandoned their families and left the man to be be a single day. In any case, I think we need to look at the family. The family is God's plan. It's God's design for humanity. And we should do everything within our power to preserve it. I know that I don't know a lot of you very well yet, but I think I can look around this morning and tell that we have an awful lot of good fathers. I've been in churches before when male leadership was almost non-existent. But thankfully, we have men here who are leaders of both the church and their families. We are truly blessed. But you know us guys, we step up to the plate a lot of times, but some of us are just not good with that baby stuff. How many of you guys are good with the baby stuff? I heard about a couple, they brought their first child home from the hospital, and the wife suggested to the husband that he try his hand at changing diapers. And he said, I'm busy. I'll do the next one. Well, the next time the baby was wet, she went to the husband and she asked him, are you ready to learn how to change diapers now? And he gave her a puzzled look, and finally he said, I didn't mean the next diaper, I meant the next baby. Often that's the way the world perceives us, you know. We kind of a little squeamish on that kind of stuff. But for most men, that's not the case. Although statistics say that 50% of the children grow up without their biological father around. But even through all that, there are many good men that step in many times and be a father to those children. And they're willing to be a father to those children. So this morning I want to look at a couple of things that the Bible says about fathers. How we can be a good father. How we can follow God's design by being a father and preserving the family. First thing we do, we are responsible. Boy, there's a big word there that a lot of people don't understand anymore. I know in a lot of households, the mom takes the kids out for their education while the dad stays home and watches sports, and the mom is basically responsible for the education of the child. And nowhere have I seen that come into play more than in the church. I've seen so many cases when moms would bring the kids to church and be involved in the church, and dad would be a sometime. Proverbs 23:24 says, the father of a righteous child has great joy. A man who fathers a wise son rejoices in him. Dads, if we want to rejoice in our children, if we want to have great joy in our children, then I guess we have to be committed enough to make an investment. We have to invest in that child's future. You know, with a lot of things in life, and sometimes we treat our children the same way, we just hope that it'll turn out okay. You know, I really don't have that much time, but maybe this will work out. And we put in a half-hearted effort. We just give them a little of our attention, and we say, okay, that's good enough. We leave too many things to chance without really putting in a wholehearted effort to see if we can affect the way things turn out. In Joshua 24, he rallies the Israelites, and he speaks to them, and he's near the end of his life now. And he pledges once again his allegiance to the Lord. He says in 24:15, but if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And many of us as fathers, we proclaim that. There are many of us that can boldly make that claim, but there are many of us that need to step up, that need to live our lives like it was true. There are many of us that need to be a spiritual example in our homes. We need to take the lead. We need to stop putting it off on mom. Take the lead for the spiritual growth of your children. And the second thing, be respectful. You know, from a very young age, I was taught to respect my mother and father. And that's a great thing. That should be taught in every home around the world. The Bible endorses it. It should remain one of the first things learned by a child. But as fathers, we also need to earn respect by our actions. In Ephesians 6:4 it says, and this is the New Living Translation, so it's going to read a little bit different because I don't like the word exasperate. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. There's always been a lot of talk about children respecting their parents. And, you know, we were taught to say yes ma'am and no ma'am, like I say, from a very early age. But in light of some of the high-profile child abuse cases I've seen lately, we need to give a little bit more attention to parents' respect for their children. Every parent, not only fathers, owes their children a safe place to call home. Every parent owes their children food and acceptable clothing. But most of all, every one of us owes our children love. I don't know what's wrong with a world that can't show love to their children. The United States has one of the worst records of child abuse of any place in the world. We lose between 4 to 7 kids every day. Our reports made to Child Protective Services in this country every 10 seconds. Think about that. Every 10 seconds. You know, there's a passage in the book of 1 John that's always moved me. In 1 John 3:17, it says, if someone has enough money to live well and sees a brother or sister in need but shows no compassion, how can God's love be in that person? It says that as Christians, we should even be driven to help our brothers and sisters in Christ. We should have compassion for them. And if we should have compassion for each other, how much more should we do for our children? I've seen the cases as you have of children just starved when their parents were well fed. How can a parent hold a little baby in their arms and not love it? I don't know. I can't understand. So how can we parent and not provoke our children to anger? Or, as the NIV says, exasperate them. One thing is we've got to discipline our children, but we've got to be fair. I've seen so many people who never seem to be steady at anything. You know, one day a child does something wrong, and you know they blurt out a bad word, and we laugh about it. And day, it draws a harsh punishment. There's nothing wrong with punishing a child, but let's be consistent. Let them know what you expect. And as I've heard parents say before, when you say this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, mean it. Nobody should draw pleasure from hurting a child. I have to admit to you, a fault probably of mine, that I believe those people who hurt children deserve a special place in hell. I just can't imagine the deranged mind that would take the innocence of a child and draw pleasure from it. So fathers, be stern with your children when circumstances warrant, but do everything with a love that only has their best interest at heart. And lastly, we know we serve a higher power. Gosh, God gave me this family. God gave you this family. God put these children in your care. Know that. I can remember telling my folks, I can't wait till I get 18. I can move out of here. I bet some of you said that before too. I was just thinking, man, when I get out, when I get married, when I have my own family, things are going to be different. Any of you remember those days? I know I sure do. I was so happy when I turned 18 because I thought, at last, freedom! After I turned 18, I lived in my parents' house for 2 more years. So, you know, it wasn't as great as I thought it was. But for some people, that power struggle never seems to subside. You know, it's like I'm the father, I'm the boss of the house. What I say goes. All of us fathers need to be leaders in our home. But we don't need to lose sight of who the real father is. When you're a leader, every one of us deals with decisions, and sometimes those decisions can be difficult. And that's when we need to ask ourselves, is this God's will for my family? Is this the direction that God is leading my life? In 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 36, it says, but worship only the Lord, who brought you out of Egypt with great strength and a powerful arm. Bow down to Him alone and offer sacrifices only to Him. In this messed up world that we live in, there are many gods that we can worship. There are many gods today available for our worship. Now, in biblical times, it might have referred to a statue or a likeness of some earthly thing. But in modern times, we worship many physical things that the world views as normal. It's okay that I have a Corvette and I spend 3 hours a day waxing it. Now, if any of you have a Corvette, I didn't mean to offend you, but there's the example. Sometimes we worship these things, and some even worship their kids. You know, on the other end of child abuse are the people who love their children too much. They worship their kids. And they're in massive debt to give their kids things that they never had. And I say this about that. Love your children. Love your children unconditionally. But realize that most of them make mistakes, as we all make mistakes as we go through life. This is a big one. Never put their happiness, never put their comfort level ahead of what you know God's plan is for your lives as a family. Scripture says to worship only God. That means you don't worship your children. You don't worship the family vacation that you have planned with them. You don't worship the new minivan that you're so excited about that you can haul all the kids to the baseball games. Or anything else that's considered a possession as a father. Your job is to worship God. Your job is to educate children concerning spiritual matters. Your job is to do everything in your power to love their mother and create a family environment that God desires. Today, as I look around this room, I see many fathers that I know have been great examples to their children. They come to church, they're active in ministry, and they're not ashamed of their faith. And other than being great providers, which we all need to do, that's really all the world can ask of you. I'm told that there was certain Native American tribes that had a rite of passage for their teenage boys. At age 13, the boy would be blindfolded and led out deep into the woods to a certain spot. And he'd be forced to sit down there while the men of the tribe returned to the camp. The boy would be required to sit all night with the blindfold in place. And he was forced to listen to all these frightening sounds, that you can imagine in the night. And once he felt the warmth of the sun come up in the east, he would take the blindfold off. And the first thing that he would see is his father sitting across from him. The boy's father would have been with him all night, protecting him from the animals of the wilderness, but he was unseen by his son. I pray for all the sons and daughters here this morning that know that their father is sitting there ready to protect them. I pray for the strong men of this church who have led their families and continue to do so. May you all be richly blessed.